So picture this, you're a 13-year-old who just finished watching the Fast and Furious movies. You fall in love with the red Lancer Evolution with the orange Supra that Paul Walker used to drive. Hey, you might be on the other side of the spectrum and you fall in love with Dom's Charger. You get so hooked onto the series that you go on ahead and watch more Fast and Furious movies like Tokyo Drift. You see even more cars like the R34 Skyline, the 350Z, the Toyota Supra, the Lancer Evolution, and so many more, and especially the RX-7. You get even more hooked. You go ahead and you play some video games like Need for Speed, Gran Turismo. You absorb all of the cars into your brain. You inject this car passion into your brain. So you go ahead and study, get a college degree, get a nice stable job in your 20s, and now you're officially looking for a nice car to buy. So I remember, oh, I used to like these cars when I was a child. Let me see how much they cost. I mean, what the fuck? $230,000 for a Supra, a 1997 Toyota Coupe. What? Now, granted, that is an outlier, but most Supras are selling for $120,000 to $130,000. And Supras are not the only one going through this epidemic. It's almost every single Japanese car out there. You look at the R34 Skylines, they're selling for crazy, almost the same as the Supra. RX-7s. I remember opening the Bring It Trailer website one day and seeing a Supra that was sold for like $30,000, and I still thought it was expensive. And now they're selling for like $120,000. This is just crazy. See, but here's the thing, however, these cars aren't just selling high because they're valued more. These cars actually went up in value, like I said. I mean, it's no rocket science that some cars can go up in value. However, these aren't supercars we're talking about here. These were mass-produced performance cars. This is like a Mark V Supra or a Mazda Miata going up in value, like right now. See, there's one driving force that is making these prices so high, not just for Japanese cars, but for all of cars. And that is media. Now, media comes in many forms, right? For example, the catalyst for the Toyota Supra was the Fast and Furious movie. The catalyst for the AE86 Terreno was the Initial D anime. The catalyst for many cars actually were games. So as we can see, media's role in driving car prices up cannot be underestimated, and today we're going to be talking about some of these cars and exactly how media made their prices absolutely rocket, and how you, the viewer, can actually profit off of this method right here. Stay tuned. Let's get back to the Toyota Supra, specifically the Toyota Supra A80, or basically the models that were sold from 1993 until the 2000s. So first get into why car prices increase in the first place. Well, it's basic economics, it's supply and demand. The more supply there is for something, the pressure of demand is lower and the price decreases. If the supply is low and the demand is low, however, it doesn't have any effect. But the case affecting these cars specifically is low supply, high demand. The thing is, these cars were discontinued in the 90s in the US. The cars that are expensive today were actually all released during the same time period. They were competitors of each other. And when one competitor decided to discontinue, the others decided to follow along. Cars like the A80 Supra, the FD-RX-7, the R34 Skyline GTR. When these cars decide to discontinue, the supply is cut. There is no more supply, so the future supply is zero. See, but here is the problem. The future supply is zero. And if the demand was only when the car was released, we would have no problem with their prices right now. But here's the thing, the demand for these cars is increasing because of certain media outlets, like I said, films. Films like Fast and Furious, many Fast and Furiouses actually, animes like Initial D, games like Need for Speed and Gran Turismo and all of them increase demand, they increase the popularity of the car. So the supply is cut, right? But then you have a huge wave of people. Now I'm gonna go ahead and list the media outlets for certain cars that their prices are very exaggerated today. First, I'm gonna be talking about the Skyline GTR, better known as the R34, by car enthusiasts. I mean, it's been called the Godzilla of Japan. It's been in video games, it's been in movies, magazines, anime, manga, you name it, this car has been it. This car is nothing short of an icon. But unfortunately, with this icon status comes rocket high prices. We are talking from about $80,000 to $150,000 for a well-kept low mileage R34. The average price hovers around $60,000 to $80,000. You have the next entry, which is of course the rotary powered RX-7. course, the RX-7 was very popular at the time only because of its engine, because of its new engineering. Simply put, its engine was a marvel, however it was short-lived as it was very unreliable. But its prices were still high because of animes like Initial D. And also the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift movie, which included, of course, the famous Veil Slide RX-7. Same thing can be said for the Evo as for the RS7. Their prices usually hover around between 60 to 80,000, while well-kept low-mileage versions could run for around 110,000, 130,000. Enough from the JDM jewels, you should call them, and let's get into some German giants. And let's cross the pond to Germany with the Porsche 911, which is a timeless classic. Unfortunately, nowadays, it's a timeless money pit. Porsche 911s have been going in price extremely highly. The MSRP of a Porsche GT3 RS is around $250,000. However, right now they're selling from anywhere between $400,000 to $700,000. And here is the thing, unlike the others, which need a lot of time and popularity to actually reach crazy profits on them, the Porsche GT3 RS is getting 3 to 4 times its price in only its first 2 years. These are 2022-2023 models we're talking about here. Pretty new. For a car to increase that much and be considered kind of art from the beginning of its launch is simply insane. However, GT3 RSs hold their value well. For example, a 10,000 mile 2016 Porsche goes for about $210,000 right now. So if you bought it at MSRP, you're getting a pretty good value holding car. However, if you're buying it way off MSRP like the current GT3 RSs for $450,000, you're pretty much gonna always lose. On the opposite end of the German spectrum, we have the G-Wagon. Now, if you don't know about the G-Wagon story, the G-Wagon was actually solely used as a military vehicle. However, the Shah of Iran actually ordered Mercedes to make them more civilian-centered and make, I guess, a G-Wagon for himself. See, the thing is, he ordered a lot of them, and they kind of became popular in Iran. Mercedes saw the vision with this car, and they decided to go all in on making a G-Wagon more civilian-oriented. The crazy thing about the G-Wagon is it had some of the lowest starting prices when it got launched. In the early 1980s, the base price of a G-Wagon was $60,000 adjusted for today. And then in the 1980s, the G-Wagon's price started to increase as Mercedes made it more luxurious focused. Now naturally, because the car became more luxurious, quote unquote, its price increased from $60,000 to around $70,000 to $85,000. And again, these prices are all adjusted for today's inflation. And in the 1990s, it also increased. Now, Mercedes wouldn't have done this if they didn't see demand, because they saw demand. And they made a really strategic move, these Mercedes guys. They did collabs with many movies. Not only that, but they exhibited the G-Wagon at many off-road shows. This just went on to increase the price of the G-Wagon in the 1990s to around $130,000. In the 2000s, Mercedes finally started adding 2 options for the G-Wagon, which was the G500 and the G550. Their prices, lo and behold, also increased, and now they were officially above $120,000. And today, a G63 AMG is going to be costing you $180,000. This is just crazy to see, considering that the G-Class released at a starting price of $60,000, and now it's for $180,000. That is a 3 times increase in price. So after I've talked about all of these cars, you can kind of see a trend here. And that is, advertising is very powerful when it comes to cars. See, but instead of dwaddling your thumbs and just kicking your feet, mad that you didn't buy these cars early on, I'm gonna go ahead and show you a method for how you can profit off of these types of cars in the future. The one thing you need to know is that media encloses many concepts, and many forms naturally. So you have car magazines, movies, social media, video games, they're all part of the hype machine. They all feed into media that's gonna drive these car prices up. See, the first thing that you need to do is you need to stay ahead of the curve. Now, what do I mean by that? You need to keep an eye on media trends. Now, for every single product in the world, be it a car or not, there's gonna be a certain trend for that type of product. So, for example, in the 1990s, the trend for cars were 2-door sport coupes that could go fast. Or if you're a cheeky little guy, you can go ahead and identify sleeper hits. Now, what does sleeper hit mean? A sleeper hit is a car that has potential that quite hasn't hit the mainstream yet. Now, in my opinion, the perfect example of a sleeper hit right now is the RS6 GT. RX-6 GT will only have 85 units in the United States. This is going to be a very limited production model, and I can easily see this car going for $350,000 in the near future. Now, you also need to be following retro trends. That means that you always have to keep an eye out for popular culture for renewed interest in specific areas or styles of cars. I'll give you an example. The Land Cruiser, the Toyota Land Cruiser, is probably one of the best value holding cars out there, and there's a very good reason. It's because that is a specific style of car. The rugged SUV, that's what it is at its heart. Especially older Land Cruiser models from 2006 until 2011, they're from a specific era that was really in demand. Now, of course, you always want to consider the investment angle because at the end of the day, if you made it to the end of this video, you probably want to profit off of these car trends. Now, of course, with all things in life, you have to be patient. A car business is a very hard business to get into and it requires a lot of research. Don't expect to buy a car for MSRP and expect it to go up 5 or 6 times in like the next 5 years. That simply doesn't happen. There are some outliers, of course, but most cars today unfortunately aren't like that. Another point is that you need to research limited editions and rare models. Now, I'm not telling you to go ahead and buy whatever limited edition there is. There are limited edition cars that actually depreciate in value. You need to research what kind of a limited edition the car is, what kind of a rare model it is. And of course, if you do buy these cars, you have to maintain them meticulously to actually make a profit. Now, I can easily get the case of the Supra. Even if you have a sub-low mileage Supra, if it's not maintained well, that's going to drive its price down by a lot. The difference of detailing your car before and after a car purchase is like $15,000. You only need to spend $200 or $300 for really good detail and a polish and everything, just so you can profit thousands of dollars more. Now, of course, predicting car prices is not an exact science. There are always unforeseen factors that can influence the market, so make sure to do your research, trust your instincts, and be prepared to take some calculated risks. And remember, everybody, this is about more than just making a profit. It's about passion, appreciation, and being part of cars. It's maintaining art. It's maintaining history. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. I'd really appreciate it if you leave me some feedback in the comments and like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. AAA Car Guy out.